Hello there, welcome along. This is Business Connections Live. My name's Steve Harlan. Great to have your company. As always, here we are live on a Wednesday night, and it is program number 50. My word, we've only been doing this a year. Is that true? Well, congratulations to us. Another 2 weeks ago, and that'll be our birthday. I think a bottle of champagne. Our guest tonight is Paul Gylnn of Sandler Training, West M25. We'll explain more about the name in just a moment, but this is Paul. Paul, great to have you with us.
Thank you.
We were talking before we came on air this evening about this. This is an alternative approach to sales, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's going to make a few people feel slightly uncomfortable.
I would disagree with it slightly. Yeah, let's put very
very uncomfortable. Yes, you're probably right, actually. I know I felt slightly uncomfortable as you were describing it to me. And it was interesting because you referred back to some of our previous guests. You referred back to Antonio Falco and some of the things that he said. Now, he's a very talented man.
Absolutely.
And a very good salesman, but a different technique, a different approach to selling. If you had to sum up the Sandler technique in a couple of sentences, what would it be?
Basically, stop selling and look for people's, what we would call, pain. That's to say, what people are really concerned about on a personal level. If we stop looking at interest and stop looking at features and benefits and actually look about what they are really interested in, that's to say, their problems, we start there and finish there.
But this is what everybody's been taught in the past, isn't it? You're always selling on benefits, you're always selling, you tell people the features, you sell it on the benefits and everything like that. So this is a very different approach, isn't it?
Well, yes. Because we would say, yes, features and benefits are going to be important, but only much later in the process. We don't start there. We actually start with what people are really concerned about. And let's be honest, do you like being sold to, Steve?
To be honest with you, no, I don't.
No. And do people really care what services that we're actually offering?
No, not really.
Do you really care how long I've been in business?
No.
No. What is it you're worried about?
I'm looking to see if you can do something, what I want. It's what I want's important to me.
In effect, all you're interested in is your own problems.
Yeah, I don't care about yours.
Don't care about mine. You don't care what I do.
No.
No. Well, why should you?
But I suppose what a lot of people do is that they use that as a qualifier for themselves. It's you see this on a lot of websites, which I think are dreadful when they've written, we've been established for 250 years, we've got 400 people working for us, and we've got 400 fans.
Who cares?
No one.
No one. So why do they do it? And why do salespeople start off with that pitch? Why do they just turn up and spew up features and benefits?
Is it because they're looking, that they feel it gives them credence, it gives them, because I'm about to ask you a little bit about your background, which establishes you.
Right.
So, you know, so that's, I suppose, is that not what you're doing with features and benefits? Well, let's find out a little bit about you.
All right.
How long have you been doing the Sandler methodology? How long
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Before that, what did you do?
I've been in sales all my adult life. I've either been in financial sales or advertising with people like Financial Times Group, that sort of thing. I ended up being sales manager, sales director at various financial publications, selling, as I thought, advertising. In actual fact, as most salespeople, I'll be honest, I was actually just being a glorified order taker.
Do you think most salespeople are like that, though?
Yes. Yes, I'm afraid to say. Yes, when I'm actually sitting, and when I occasionally go out with salespeople, because I'm asked to do that sometimes, and actually sit through, I don't say a word, I just sit there and just observe, it is absolutely extraordinary how even good salespeople really have just one train crash after another. It's just extraordinary.
So it doesn't matter, despite themselves,
yes,
they're getting the orders?
I'm afraid so. Because in effect, what we do, if we spread out our wares, what we do, our features and benefits, all we're asking our clients to do is to go through the process all on their own without any assistance from us. Because at the end of the day, they have to work out what is the pain, is it sufficiently important enough to do anything about? What are they prepared to actually spend in terms of time, money and resources to fix it? How they're actually going to go decide about using anybody, let alone the person that they're speaking to, and then, and only then, can they make some sort of a decision. But we as salespeople traditionally don't bother to help them with any of that.
But isn't it part of painting the picture? I'm not defending the different approaches, but what I'm saying isn't describing and explaining the benefits, isn't that just painting the picture and placing the product in the mind's eye of the customer?
But sorry, what product?
Well, whatever you're selling.
But what am I selling? I don't know. Because at the end of the day, I don't know, let's take the example of, say, a software company, right? It could be selling a package to do one thing, or it could be hosting, or it could be all sorts of different things that you might actually offer your particular client. So as far as your client's concerned, you are the hosting specialist, or you are the whatever it is specialist. We don't actually know what it is we're going to be selling to that particular prospect, that particular potential client. So how on earth do we know what it is we're selling? How can we do that? I understand. It's a question of, we start from what is the problem that we might be able to solve. If we can find out between us and the prospective client what the problem is we're actually going to solve, we can work out together what it is we're going to sell.
All right, now if I come into you and I've got a widget, or I've got a pen here, I'm going to sell you that pen. It's quite clear what that pen is what it's going to do.
Okay, got it.
So I'm going to say to you, okay, so
so
what I'd like to do.
The pen? You want me to sell the pen?
Well, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm going to ask you: do you need a pen? Do you already have
yes, I need a pen.
Do you? Why?
So I can write and high-resolution graphics and do drawings.
Well, hang on a minute. You're trying to tell me you haven't got a pen yet? I mean, you haven't got any pen outside of this office? You don't have any?
No, I do have a pen.
You do have, right, okay, so why do you want a pen from me?
Because I like that. I like the white pens with the blue logos on.
Oh, you like white pens? So as long as we can offer you lots of white pens with blue logos, what would you do with them?
Do some writing with them and
You would you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So how much would you be prepared to spend to have a whole load of those that you can use for your company?
I see what you're doing. So it's nearly question-led, isn't it?
Totally question-led. I mean, you've got to convince me that we're even in the right conversation, because at the moment I'm not convinced you need a pen.
But yes, you're right. But so does that mean that the emphasis of what you're trying to do is completely misdirected at times? You go in there and you're trying to sell something that the client perhaps doesn't even need.
Right. What's the point of that? Particularly if we go in absolutely determined, I'm going to sell this pen. In actual fact, what you actually need is a whole fantastic solution that I actually have over here, which I haven't even thought you might need, because I haven't even bothered to find out. So I'm going to try and sell you a whole lot of cheap pens. You could have actually spent a fortune with me. How do I know?
It's a very different approach, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So is it just a case then of opening the Pandora's box and allowing people's imagination to run a little bit more freer with what they're talking about?
No,
or is it engaging with the customer more?
Totally engaging with the customer. We have to guide them, right? I can't just go in and say, what do you want from me? They quite often don't even know. Quite often the problem that the prospect brings us is never the real problem anyway. Right? So it's between us, we're going to have to find out what the real problem is.
Now, the worry that I've got at the moment is that there will be a feeling that we're going round in circles a little bit.
All right.
So what we need to do is we need to define exactly what the methodology is that you're now using,
okay,
and what you're trying to say to your prospect, who you may well be selling to,
all right,
or not, as the case may be.
The easiest way of doing that is if we actually start with what is the traditional sales process.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So if we can see that, I think I've got a slide on that.
Yes, we have. So there'll be slide number one.
All
there
right,
it is.
Slide number one. Okay. Right. This is typically how we think we should be selling. Right. We've got some sort of rapport between us. We do that wonderful needs analysis.
Yep.
Right. I then do some sort of presentation, tell you about the features and benefits.
Yep.
Right. Okay. And then I ask you some clunky close. If I could do those for 50 quid, would you take it, or something like that? You know, some sort of half Nelson, or whatever it is, close. And you say, oh, don't know, might be. Let me think about it. Right. So I then have to come back to you and chase, and in the end, eventually you end up maybe, possibly buying from me.
And that is the traditional sales process.
Right. So if we have slide 2.
Righto, here it is.
This is how buyers work, however. They're very, very cautious. They're not going to suddenly be your bosom pal. Why should they? Right? They are not going to tell you all of their secrets about what it is they actually want. They're going to hold their cards close, because after all they want is information from you. They want to better compare you, for example. They want to be mini experts as quickly as possible. And they're obviously not going to commit to anything right now, because they need to take their time to work out what it is they want. And when you do try and chase them, they've disappeared. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, that's very traditional. That is the way it is, isn't it?
Well, that sounds very harsh on buyers. So let's look at it from the point of view of maybe when we've bought or rented accommodation. I guess you've done that once or twice.
Yes, indeed,
right? Yeah. Okay. So I don't know about you, but certainly I've been in the situation where you've walked across the threshold and you know it's right. You know what I mean? You've got that feeling.
That feeling.
You got that feeling. So you turn to the estate agent or the owner and say, "I'll take it full price." Immediately, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
No.
No. Oh, what is it you do?
Well, I might negotiate with them, try and bring the price down.
So what is it you do?
Well,
you say, well,
make an offer, maybe I'm not quite certain.
Not quite certain, and also
non-committal.
I've not noticed that not everything's boarded up in the loft, and the windows need fixing, and
I find real or even fictitious faults.
Yeah, really?
Maybe.
Right. So basically, you're lying.
You're
lying about your real commitment. You know you're going to take this, right? But the reason why we lie about our real commitment is to stay in control.
And also, what we're trying to do, we're trying to find something that we can negotiate with on price, can't we?
Okay, but basically, if we knew for an absolute fact the price was right, we wouldn't need to do that. But we just know the salespeople are going to come on strong and try and take us for everything we've got, right? So I'm not saying that buyers are horrible people and are going to lie to you all the time. I'm saying they have to. We all do it when we're in that buying situation. We all do it. We all keep our cards close. But if we look at the next slide and we put those two situations together, they're holding cards close. We're trying to do a needs analysis. They're trying to get all the information you can. We're trying to do a presentation. They're committing to nothing. We're doing a close attempt. They're disappearing. It's the same system.
But in reverse.
But whose system? Who's controlling that one?
Nobody is.
Well, they are. The buyer is.
Yes.
The buyer's in control all the time. So when we're doing our traditional sales process, we're just handing off everything over to the buyer and saying, "Buyer, treat me like whatever." Well,
I don't know about you, but that really sums. This is going to be an exhausting hour. I've got that feeling right now, but you know that gives you an insight into what we're trying to say here. We've had a number of people that have been on the program over the past months that have come on and they've talked about the traditional sales techniques, the features, the benefits. But here's somebody, Paul, who's giving us a completely different perspective on what we should be doing when we're selling. In fact, we're not selling. Right. But what we're doing is we're identifying the pain that the person who could be our customer is actually going through, identifying the pain, and then actually fulfilling a solution that's going to ease the pain for our customer. It's a different technique. I must admit, it's a technique that's very interesting.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said that.
That's good.
Right.
So we're going the right way about it.
Good.
We're going to look more at the technique. We're going to tell you some of the secrets of how the Sandler training technique actually works. We've already heard that Paul's actually been mentoring this particular technique for something like 5-6 years and has had tremendous results from it. Could this be the thing that changes your perspective on the way that you sell your business to people? Is it the way you're going to be talking to your customers in the future? Is it going to give you a bit of an insight in how maybe perhaps you should be getting your message over to potential customers at networking events when you're going out there and you're talking to them? I bet up until now you've been going out there and you're going, "Yep, here's my business card, and we do X, Y, and Z," and you're using cocktail stick eyes over the shoulder of somebody and you're looking for the next prospect that you can do the same pitch to. But are you really listening to what your potential customer is saying? Are you identifying the pain that they're having? Do you understand truly what they want? And maybe in certain circumstances, I've just seen there with the pen, does your customer even understand what he wants? We're going to look more at this in just a few moments' time. Right now, though, what we're going to do is we're going to look back at last week's programme. Last week, our guests were Mike Hampson and Adam Crawford of Bishopsgate Financial. They were giving us advice on how to fast-track your business, understanding your marketplace, understanding your customer, and finding out what their needs are and how they could help them move their organisation forward. Yes, they did work for large multinational organisations, but they also had some sound advice for the small SEOs as well. Just to give you a bit of a taste of what happened last week, this is last week's edition of Business Connections Live. Our guests this evening, yes, two guests tonight, are Mike Hampson and Adam Crawford of Bishopsgate Financial. This evening we're going to be talking about how to understand your marketplace and really how to fast track your business? A lot of businesses, obviously they start up. Are you the right person to be continuing your business and carrying it on? Are you the person that's going to be sticking with your business all the way through? And how should you be developing it and growing it? Who should you be talking to? What are things you need to understand about your business? How do you grow it? How do you make it a success?
Very often the answers sit within an organisation, but the challenge for individuals in those organisations is how do they actually get their voices heard. I think a lot of small businesses are very risk averse. You know, they go with what they know, and they assume that people who've been in the military are fairly single-threaded or single-tracked in terms of what their skills are. But actually the military is a huge organisation with a lot of different disciplines and people in it. We hire them full-time into the organisation, so I think one of the differences between what we do and what some of the other organisations do when taking on military personnel is we actually offer them a full-time career and training and a commitment for 2 years. A lot of places actually offer internships.
Your skill sets are honed from day one in the military, so we might pick on planning or communication or leadership. These are all areas, so take the first of those, planning. Of my 16 years, 5 of those years were spent in a suit in central government or in Whitehall on planning and operational jobs.
So, I mean, from our business, we typically deliver change management services to the banking sector, which sounds pretty dry. But if you look at the organisation, the organisations and the industry at the moment, there's a huge amount of transformation going on. But if you look around yourself in any organisation, there's these projects that are going on year, and as a result of that, they need specialist expertise to come in. They don't need it forever; they just need it for a period of time.
So coming into an organisation, you can always detect the need that people have to be managed and led. And that can be simple things like understanding the parameters in which they're being asked to operate, and then given the freedom to operate within those parameters. But they then, by their own admission, get put in a position when they've got 50 to 100 people in a high-pressure environment to lead and manage, and it's the first time they've ever done it. I mean, that's a very invidious position to be put in. I think if you're in a small business, the imperative behind your activity is relatively clear, particularly an organisation like ours and those, I guess, of our audience tonight. As a business gets larger and into the sort of the large multinational corporates, it can become harder to ascertain what it is that you're being asked to do in terms of where it fits in the overall business direction. If you're part of a 10,000 strong multinational, what do you do today? How does that affect what happens to the business?
I think you've got to decide what your vision is and how big you want to take the company. If you're quite happy with a certain level of lifestyle, where you're the jack of all trades, in control of everything, in the detail of everything, then that's fine. But as we grew to the size we got to, as I say, we're close to 100 people, 10 million in revenue, if you're really going to grow, to break through and carry on growing, you've got to reevaluate how things operate. I think the main thing about our engagements is going in with a pretty clear objective of what the client either thinks their problem is or what they're trying to achieve, and it's that clarity of mission, if you like, in terms of before you even get started. After that, it really is about listening and gathering as much of the information and data that you can before you start to jump to conclusions and make assumptions. Very often the solutions that the client needs are somewhere in their own organisation. Someone knows that organisation well enough, and you've got to listen to that, uncover that, and then, as I say, help them build the story as to what the right solution or the right answer is for them. Okay, I'm Mike Hampson. I'm the CEO of Bishopsgate Financial Consulting, and we deliver transformation services to the finance sector in the UK and abroad. I think the key thing that we can do for our clients is that we can deliver change by bringing in experts who have been on the other side of the fence, people who have actually done the job within the sector themselves, not just trained consultants. And we have got a fantastic training program now for guys coming out of the military, where we're able to leverage the natural skills and talents that they bring, be it around communication, be it around leadership, be it around structured approach to things. And by training them in the financial sector, we're developing a fantastic source of talent, which we are starting now to deliver to our clients to help solve their problems.
fascinating insight into what they did there. Bishopsgate Financial, and our thanks to Mike and Adam. And if you want to find out more details, you can simply go to their page on our website at businessconnectionslive.com, or if you want, you can also go to our YouTube channel. More about that a little bit later on in the program, where you can watch all the programs. We're also on Roku, we're on iTunes, we're all over the place, quite frankly. We're on iTunes as well. We are taking over the world, albeit slowly, but we are taking the world over with great business advice for you. My guest this evening is Paul Gylnn of Sandler Training West M25. It is a franchise, isn't it?
It is.
But it's, I would imagine, the franchise, as a franchisee,
right,
it's down very much to you for the individual success that you actually get.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's for me to find my clients. It's for me to help through assessments, training, mentoring and coaching to look after my clients. I'm very, very jealous about helping them be successful. Was
it a bit of an epiphany when you discovered this technique?
Absolutely. I'm glad you put it like that. It felt exactly like that. That confusion bit that we went through a few moments ago, where it's like, oh my goodness, that feeling, definitely. Having spent all my adult life in sales, to then come across something which in effect was suggesting everything I thought I knew about sales was potentially wrong, and to do it completely on its head was indeed, as you say, an epiphany. When I saw this stuff, I thought, oh my God, it's not good enough just to be a client. Not good enough. I need to own this. Hence being a franchisee.
So impressed you bought the company effectively.
Absolutely that.
Is it though a bit of an uphill struggle, because you do have the traditional sales technique that is out there, which is used everywhere. I mean, yes, you know, everybody that's B2B or B2C or whatever are using the same features and benefits kind of technique to get their products over. They feel that, you know, you identify a need, right, which to a certain extent is what you're doing. But as a salesperson, you're identifying the pain that the customer is going through, and then you're providing an all-encapsulating solution to it.
I would disagree with slightly, if you don't mind. There is this idea that pain is a business problem, right? But I'm not talking about a business problem. I'm actually talking about how someone actually feels about it. So, for example, if I quickly go through that, we're going to put the whole structure together in a moment, but if we just look at pain as you brought that up, okay, in effect we've got what's called a pain funnel. There are 11 questions you've got to go through. What's the problem? Give me an example. How long it's been a problem? What have you done to fix it? Obviously they haven't managed to fix it, there's still a problem, okay. How much is that actually costing you as a business, or you personally, in terms of time, money and resources? Now we've got a real situation, we've got a real live example. They're absolutely reliving this very annoying situation, and at the moment we're still at a business level. It's a business level problem, but then we go one stage further and saying, how does that make you feel, the fact you're losing thousands of pounds over this?
So it becomes personal at that point.
Right, it gets personal. I'm only interested in it being personal. I'm not interested in a business problem. I want to know that this is important enough to do something about, and that can only happen if it's personal. I say, okay, so you're feeling frustrated, worried, angry, annoyed that this is happening? Okay, so have you given up trying to do something about this? Absolutely not. Fine, so what do you want me to do about it? Well, that's why we're here, that's why we're having the discussion. Got it.
But don't you feel at that point then that you're still going to go into some sort of sales process, the more traditional way at that point?
Shall we go to the next slide so we can see how that fits together?
All right, then I don't mind. We'll have a look at the next slide then.
Is that all right?
We can do that. There it is.
Thank you. As you see, it's a submarine. The idea of being a submarine is because it's unsinkable and it goes quite underneath the radar. And it's a 7-step process. Bonding and rapport, everyone knows what bonding and rapport is, I guess, but we would want to make sure we understand the kind of person we've got in front of us. Are they dominant, influencer, steady related, cautious thinker, those different types of the character that we've been seeing before in previous programs, and also are they visual, auditory, kinesthetic? How do we make sure we're speaking the right language, literally, to them? And then after that, we will look at upfront contracts. That's to say, we make sure we know what's going to happen in the meeting, right at the beginning, all the way through the meeting, before we've had the meeting.
So you're in complete control then?
but with the agreement of our prospect. So we'll say something like, how long have we got for this? We've got now. That's great, fantastic. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. What is it that you actually need to get out of this hour? Well, I need to know about this, 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 and this. Right? Makes sense. Basically, I'm going to have to ask some questions about the challenges you're facing, what it is you're prepared to do to fix those challenges, and how you'd go about even making a decision about this. And at the end of the meeting, we're then in a situation either to decide I'm not a fit because I can't help everybody, or we go forward and actually work out how we can help actually help you with a solution. Is that okay?
And you get the agreement.
And if I don't get the agreement, we don't go any further, obviously. But that seems a perfectly reasonable agenda.
Yep.
But now
that seems to work.
Right. They know the worst that's going to happen. The worst that's going to happen, we can actually work out now. Am I actually going to be asking for money from you at the end of this meeting? I can actually work that out with you before the meeting even starts. So they can relax. It's a bit like when you're going to the dentist. If the dentist tells you, when the dentist tells you what's going to happen, you can relax a lot more. If you just sit there and you don't know what the heck's going to do and he starts drilling around in your mouth for an hour, the tension is there, right? But if you know the worst that's going to happen, you can relax. And of course, because you relax, it doesn't hurt anywhere near as much.
Thank you, Paul, for that. He knows I'm going for some root canal work tomorrow, and he's just said that deliberately.
But it's true.
But it's true. He's explained exactly what's going to happen. We've agreed on what's going to happen, and so we can move forward.
That's right, and you're relaxed.
Yeah.
Right? It's far less painful than it would have been. Right? And then, of course, but painful, there's those pain questions.
Yeah.
Right? And you say, well, hang on a minute, once we've done the pain, are we then going to do some sort of presentation to prove that we can do it? Well, no, not really, because we still need to make sure that they're prepared to do what's required to solve the problem, not with us. Have they got the money, the willingness, the ability, the resources to fix the problem? Because if they haven't, what should we do?
So really, we're looking for their commitment to resolve their issue.
Right, not necessarily with us now.
That's their issue, isn't it?
It's their issue, it's always their issue. Right, and also we need the decision as well. The decision doesn't mean commitment to do this, it's how are they going to decide? Who else has got to be involved in this? Who's going to be affected? What criteria are you going to use? When are you going to make the decision? Where? What's got to be decided? All these questions are going to have to be answered.
But a lot of these questions are, and I know there will be the traditional salespeople watching this. A lot of these questions are the qualifying questions that you would use in a traditional sales conversation. I mean, you know, the qualifying the need, qualifying the commitment that you do actually want it, making certain that you're the right person, that you're the person that can make the decision, all these kind of things, which you are qualifying anyway. So it's not 1,000 miles away.
1,000 miles away
from the traditional sales technique.
Isn't. You're right. Apart from, it is in the sense that we are in control of what's going on with the upfront contract, and we're looking at pain. We're not necessarily. How does I say this? Usually, traditional salespeople, yes, they try and qualify the client, but they qualify it far too quickly, right? And they do it the wrong way round. They want to qualify the client and then present almost before they've qualified, is what I'm trying to say. They say, well, the reason I'm here is because we can do this, this, this for you. We're absolutely wonderful. Here's our presentation. Here's the brochure. Blah, blah, blah. By the way, is this something you could use? And then we start qualifying, which is all the wrong way around. Whereas what this is talking about is saying, hang on a second, wait. If we can work out why it is they would even want to have this solution, how they're actually feeling about it, it's no longer an intellectual interest. This is now really, really absolutely got to happen.
So really, you're allowing them to, they are identifying their issue.
We're helping them to identify the issue. Yes.
They are qualifying that they have an issue for you themselves.
Right. Yes.
You are then
helping them,
kind of using an NLP nearly technique there, where you're identifying it as personal pain and inconvenience.
Yes.
So you worked your way through all of that. So you've now actually identified that there is a need.
Well, it's more than that. By this stage, they have understood.
And they want a resolution.
They want a resolution. And they've also understood, because of the way that we've done it, that there is only one person or one organisation that can help.
Yours.
Well, yeah. Why is that? Because we're the only ones that have actually bothered to actually find out what the real problem is. We haven't come in to solve a surface problem. We've actually worked out what the real issues are.
Let's go back to the slide again, and so we got halfway through that. So the budget, so we're identifying budget now.
Yes, their budget, what they're prepared to do to spend, not my price. I'm not interested in giving them a price.
All right.
Okay, so for example, I had exactly this with one of my clients yesterday. They were telling me how they actually bothered to ask correctly, well, what would you be prepared to do to spend in order to fix the issues that we've identified? And they said £8,000. When my client almost fell off his chair. It was twice what he actually needed.
So by allowing them to actually give that information,
right,
it puts you in a more strong position when you're actually selling, if not that you are selling,
right,
but where you're actually promoting or pushing your product.
That's right, because then when you go back to them with, say, a solution that's £6,000, are they going to say you're too expensive?
They've already told you it was going to be 8.
Right, so it's not a problem, is it? So who's setting the price?
But there's going to be times when you're in a normal sales conversation,
right?
And I mean, for instance, what we do when we're doing corporate video production. No, you listen. This is my turn now. When you're selling a particular commodity,
right?
And we go to our clients and we would say to them, you want this, that, and the other. And we have to say, what is the budget? Because the budget, ours is as long as it needs to be. It's like a piece of elastic.
Is it?
The more you can achieve something that lasts 30 seconds, but you can film something that is 30 seconds in duration that costs millions of pounds.
Right.
Or you can film something on your iPhone that lasts 30 seconds.
Right.
One will be measurably different when you actually see it, but fundamentally they're still just bits of video that are 30 seconds long.
Right.
So you have to sometimes identify with the client what their budget is.
That's what I'm saying. It's exactly that. You're agreeing with me, Steve. You didn't tell them what the price was. You said, okay, look, it can go from anything from pretty much nothing on an iPhone to millions of pounds. Where are we? What's your price? What price range are you talking about, Mr. Prospect? Well, we're only supposed to spend like a couple £100. You've got a problem, because to do something properly, you're probably talking, I don't know, a couple of thousand, but I guess you can't spend that. You just told me. Well, hang on a minute, maybe we talk to me a bit further, you know? When I said a couple of £100, and the board is prepared to go up to 1,000, if necessary. So, okay, well, let's see what we can do for 1,000. I'm not sure we can do anything that you will be happy with, but let's talk about it. At least we now know.
That is fascinating, actually, because it is a psychology. Do you sometimes find that there are going to be people that, because you're doing it in a different way, are uncomfortable with the role that they're now taking? We've already said that the buyers have actually got a role. They're fulfilling their part in this bit-part play, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they're fulfilling their part. You, as a salesperson, are fulfilling yours, and you walk in and you're reading a different script.
Right.
Does that sometimes knock them off kilter slightly, so that maybe they're slightly unprepared, or they just don't really get what's going on?
Okay, and I'm not sure why that's a problem.
Well, I don't see it as a problem. I'm just sort of saying, does that sometimes happen? Is that the uncomfortable moment?
Well, it's not uncomfortable in actual fact. What's uncomfortable, the reason why this looks uncomfortable, by the way, is because we're trying to suggest that people should sell in a different way. That's the uncomfortable bit. For the buyer, it's not uncomfortable at all. What this actually, I know we're being very analytical right now, but what it actually comes across as is a business conversation. That's all. Right? A very comfortable business conversation at exactly the speed that the buyer needs.
So identifying needs, whether it's painful to them,
right?
The budget that they have,
what they're prepared to do to fix the situation,
how
they're going to go about making that decision, and quite often they don't even know that because they never bought your stuff before. How do they know how to buy your stuff? So together you help work out what that would actually be, what that solution of decision is going to look like. And then, and only then, can we actually talk about how we're going to fix it.
Is it going to be suitable right across the board then, this technique? For instance, could you imagine somebody on QVC using a technique? Well, that isn't going to work because it's just one way, but what about in a retail environment where you've got a salesperson eyeball to eyeball with the customer? Is it going to work in that environment as well, this technique or a derivative of it?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I have to admit, my clients are typically B2B, but there's no reason why it shouldn't be used in the retail marketplace at all. No. In fact, having said that, one of my clients is actually in the car hire business. That's very much B2C. And indeed, when they call in, the very first question should be, okay, you're wanting to hire a van, or can I ask what the purpose of the hire is? You can't just assume that the person phoning in has actually got it right.
So if that was the case then, so what difference does that make? Surely what you're trying to do is just hire a vehicle.
Right.
So I love the way you say that. Right. Right. As if I'm a fool.
No, not at all. No, I'm listening. I'm trying to take on board what you're saying. Right.
We phone in. You're a car hire company.
Right. Okay.
I phone in and I go, I want to hire a car.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. I want to hire a car.
How many people are going in the party?
Well, I just want to hire a car.
Okay.
4 people.
4 people. Okay, that's good. Okay, right. So obviously we need 4 seats, and you've got some luggage as well. Are you going far, or? So
you're looking at then as an opportunity to sort of say, is it a bigger car you need? You can advise and sell up.
Well, yes. For example, I don't know why we got into car hire. It was my fault. Sorry. You can hire a car for 8 people, right? An 8-seater, right? So that's great. You've got 8 people going up to Edinburgh.
Right.
So you hire this van, this mini thing, whatever it is, right? This people mover, and they're standing outside this 8-seater with all their luggage. What happens? They can't get the luggage in.
Yes.
Why not? Because it's only 8 seats. It doesn't have any space for luggage. But they don't necessarily know that. They've not hired a vehicle like that before. So you've got to ask, okay, you want an 8-seater, how many people are going? It sounds like a stupid question, but it's not. If they say 8, what are you going to have to do now? And say, well, I don't think you want an 8-seater. You probably need
a 10-seater.
A 10-seater or 2 cars of 4 with some luggage in it.
So once again, it's being aware of what the problem is that your customer is experiencing.
Right. And don't necessarily assume they're coming to you with the right problem.
That's probably the best takeaway from the whole show, isn't it? Just because we've got something to sell doesn't mean it's the right thing for the person. And when they come asking to you, they may be getting it wrong as well.
That's right, because they've not done this before. You've done it before, but they haven't. So only when we know exactly what the real problem is, we know what they're prepared to do to fix it, and we know how they're going to decide, can we then actually present them with a solution. What do you think actually happens when we get to that next part of the submarine?
Let's have a look at the submarine again.
Right.
Submarine, there it is.
We know we've got them really, really well. They absolutely love us, right? Bonding and rapport. They know what's going to happen. We know what it is they need. They've told us they can fix it and how they're going to fix it. We've got this thing called fulfillment, which is like presentation, proposal, quotation, whatever you want to call it. What do you think actually happens if we've done everything perfectly up to this stage, up to fulfillment?
Well, I would imagine at that particular stage they've probably sat there and they're thinking to themselves, so it's been identified, they know they're going to get what they want, it's going to be within budget. Right. So they're going to know they want it, aren't they?
Do they need a proposal?
Well, no, they don't. No. They know they want it.
They know they want it, and they know that you can offer it. You know that because of the kind of questions we've been offering them. So that presentation piece, that fulfillment, that quotation, that proposal, quite often goes away. Would it surprise you if I told you I've only done 3 proposals in 5 years?
Actually, no, it wouldn't, to be honest with you. So you've used the same process to market your business to your customers.
That's right. And I don't do proposals. I don't need to. Or if I do, they've written it.
Do you honestly think that there's any particular sales area where the technique, I mean, we've already talked about the retail, the B2C, but is there anywhere where this just doesn't work?
I haven't come across one yet.
And give us the kind of industries that you've worked with and the companies you work with.
Oh, okay. Well, certainly database consultants on the one hand, and a one-man band consultancy, all the way up to a big software company. I've already mentioned car hire, IFAs, independent financial advisors, graphic designers. The list goes on.
So it's right across the board.
Yeah.
Do they use the whole process, do you think, or do they use the bits that they're comfortable with and then incorporate that into their own sales technique?
Well, in theory, they should use the whole technique, the whole system.
But the question is, do you think they mix it up a bit?
A little bit. I'll be honest. But having said that, no. I mean, for example, just before I became on air, I had a call from one of my clients who was absolutely delighted. He just landed a £40,000 consultancy deal. And he's a one-man band, so that's a lot of money. A lot of money.
A lot of money.
A lot of money. And it's just simply because he went through this process. And in particular, if we put that slide up for that last,
let's just have a look at that
very
slide.
last bit, we've got this thing called post-sell, which for people who know anything about Sandler will tell you is the scariest bit of all to do. Is when they've actually just told you they're going to do business with you, and they've given you the check, and you deliberately pass it back to them and say, hang on a second, before we do that, are you sure this is right? Are you sure? Because you mentioned...
It would be in my wallet by then.
You said,
maybe even out the door.
You said that you wanted the logo to be that kind. In actual fact, we're having to do the logo that way, but you did tell me that that was okay. But can I just check with you one more time that is okay, that we're okay with that? And as long as you say, yep, I say, well, okay, in that case, I'm convinced that we indeed should be doing business. I just needed to check in with you on that.
It sounds incredibly straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it's, what I want to do is, where we are right now, let's just put a stake in the ground for a second. All right, let's just go through the key process once again of what we're trying to achieve, so that we're absolutely 100% clear, just in case somebody's just been watching this out of the corner of their eye, and they're going, actually, this guy, this Paul fella, he's got some really good points here. This is a different way from the way I've been selling in the past, and now what I'm looking at is something that is, you know, I want to hear this again. So, and they always say repetition is good, don't they?
Well, for sure.
All right. So, the process then at the very beginning, the top of the process is
bonding and rapport. Right. Understanding exactly the kind of person we've got in front of us, so we can do the right tone, the right language, everything, so they can trust us a little bit more. So basically, stop being a salesperson and be much more like them. Right. So we're on the same side of the desk. We're together going to try and solve a problem, an issue. We've always been told that's what we've got to do, but this is actually a scientific way of being able to do just that. Then the real key is the upfront contract, so that we know we've got the right time, we've got their agenda, and they have to tell us the agenda, we can't guess it. We can then tell them what our agenda is, which is always the same. We want to know, ask questions about their pain, budget and decision. We don't pretty quite like that, but that's basically what we want. And we want to be very, very clear what the outcome is going to be. Either no, which is fine, and we have to help them say no sometimes, because people don't like telling salespeople no, but we have to help them if it really is that. Or yes, and what does the yes mean? And we have to be very clear what we want it to be. It might not be an order. It might just be meeting with another decision maker. For example, recently I had a meeting with an old contact of mine, and I said at the beginning of the meeting, if it's a yes, then I need to have a meeting with your CEO. Are you going to be happy with that? And she went, yeah, okay. And that's what I've got next week. So that was the yes. Okay, so that's the upfront contract. We then work out what the pain is at a personal level, not a business problem. Why on earth should we bother to fix this? If it's not big enough an issue, then let's not do it. If it's something that's burning and has got to absolutely happen, then we can help. And it usually tends to be 3 lots of pain, in actual fact, in order to be able to be sure we can actually get the commitment we want from them. And then we can talk about, okay, you've got these main issues that you've identified, you've said it out loud, you told me how uncomfortable you are with those. What are you prepared to do to fix it? Have you got sufficient resources to fix those things? If you have, how would you then go about making that decision? Because it's something not bought before. How would you do it? Then and only then can we potentially do some sort of presentation, but usually by that stage they don't want to know about your brochure. They don't want to know about your proposal, your quotation, and whatever it is. They've bought already. I haven't got time to go into how exactly that works right now, but I'm sure you've already seen that might well be the case. But if necessary, we then do the features and benefits. I'm not saying don't do features and benefits, it's there at that point that we can do that, because we've got to prove. We've been mouthing off, now we've got to prove it, right? And then when they've said, yes, okay, well, we'll have that, we've then got to make sure that they're absolutely happy with that, with the post-sale. By the way, at what stage has it said close in this diagram?
Can we just see the submarine again? Let's just have a look. Bonding, rapport, upfront contracts, pain, budget, decision, fulfillment, post-sale. There is no close statement.
There's no close. At no stages there are close. Because in actual fact, the whole thing's a close, really and truly.
It is very, very different, isn't it?
Isn't it?
I'll tell you, in just a moment, you're going to tell us how the technique came about, a little bit of the background of the technique.
Happy to do that.
So we can get a real feel for it and where it's been used as well around the world, if you've got that information with it. Also have a look at your website as well.
Yeah, great.
Because it's quite a large organisation, the Sandler Training, isn't it?
It is.
So we'll find out more about that in just a few seconds' time. My guest this evening is Paul Gylnn. I don't know about you, do you find it absolutely fascinating? I know it's very easy to sometimes sit there, if you are a traditional salesperson, and sit back and go, do you know what, this is just bunkum. But it's very easy to do that. It means, you know, closed view on what you're hearing. You're not opening up to maybe the possibilities of something being just a little different in its techniques. We're always going on about the close. It's the techniques here where you don't have a close, because the whole thing is a close. So the whole thing is justifying the reason why your customer wants this, because it's going to resolve an issue or a problem for them. But by doing it the way you're doing it, you're not across a table and presenting the whole thing to them. What you're doing is you're side by side, shoulder to shoulder, and you're working through the issues and then coming up with a solution. And solution, thankfully, is, if it is the product that you're selling or the product that you actually got, that's what you're trying to do. So you're working side by side to resolve the issue, as opposed to going in there and going, do you know what, do you want to buy this pen? When should I deliver them, Tuesday or Wednesday? Really, it's a different technique. Now, some of you are going to be finding this very, very uncomfortable. Some of you will be screaming at your laptops, your Roku players, at iTunes or whatever. You'll be screaming, you're going, this is wrong. We'll tell you more about the background to this particular technique and this particular way of selling in just a few moments' time. And perhaps maybe, if you come with an open mind, it could be the thing that actually maybe transforms the way that you do business with your customers. You're watching Business Connections Live. All right then, maybe this is the wrong way. Do you feel like you're missing out on great techniques and great ways to find out how you can increase your business? Can you feel the pain? Well, if you can, maybe one of the things you can do to relieve a little bit of that pain is to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a look at this. If you're a business owner and you need advice on how to make your business more successful, then Business Connections Live TV is just for you.
Our leading industry experts cut out the guesswork for growing businesses. How to use social media, what to expect from your accountant, web design, SEO, and so much more.
Business Connections Live TV is here to give you the motivation you need to succeed.
How you doing? My name is Brad Burton. I'm the motivational speaker that everyone's talking about right now, and I'm on Business Connections Live. What a show! What a show! People, do check it out.
If you're struggling with Facebook and LinkedIn.
Most people that I meet are on LinkedIn. Virtually, you know, there's 14.5 million people just in the UK. I think the figures currently are 238 million people worldwide. But I would say that most of them don't really understand how to use it.
How to present your ideas more effectively.
Hello, I'm Philip Skinner, Shaw Walker Lees. A brilliant way to get message across. I'm actually thinking that we might switch away from our quarterly newsletter to do a video and get it sent through to staff and clients.
To generating leads and finding new business.
Hi, I'm Jim McLaughlin, Managing Director of business development company Axial, and I'd just like to say what a pleasure it's been to have the opportunity to appear on Business Connections Live.
Subscribe and be part of the Business Connections Live TV online community for free.
Business Connections Live TV every Wednesday, 6 p.m. GMT, or catch up on the Business Connections Live TV YouTube channel.
Make certain your business is connected with Business Connections Live TV. So please, if you can, subscribe to our channel. That way you won't be feeling any more pain. And all the information that we give out on a weekly basis is really going to help your business to grow. If you just look back over the past couple of weeks, we've had all sorts of different people there. We were looking at consultants coming in that actually help your large multinational businesses. We had famous women. Is it famous? Fabulous women. Fabulous women, that networking, or net winning, as they like to call it, and marvellous men as well. Just a few of the different areas. We had some success stories. We had Tom Higgins in from Goldeye as well over the last couple of weeks. Do watch all the programmes. You'll find them absolutely fascinating. There will be a nugget of information in each and every one of them that's going to help your business to grow and to succeed. I'm hoping tonight that this whole new concept maybe of selling to you is going to help your business. Before we go back to that, I must remind you as well that we've got the networking show. It is just weeks away now, in fact. If you're going to be going up there to Wolverhampton Racecourse, turns out the right way round, there we go. Admit one, Wolverhampton Racecourse. It is the Business Networking Show 2014. It is the UK's largest networking event, and some of the speakers that we're going to have there, we've got the BBC's apprentice runner-up Neil Clough. He's going to be speaking. Rachel's going to be there. Brad's going to be there. Dee's going to be there. She was on the program a couple of weeks back. Also, Steph Thomas is going to be there. He's the author of Business Networking for Dummies. And we're going to be there as well. We're going to be broadcasting live all the way through the event, the entire day. We're going to be bringing people onto our stand, onto our stage area, and we're going to be filming them. The whole thing's going to be streamed live. So if you can't make it up to Wolverhampton, once again, on the 19th of September, all you've got to do is have your laptop, your iPhone, your smartphone, your pad, whatever it is that you watch us on, Roku, YouTube, iTunes, you know, whatever it is, you'll be able to watch the entire proceedings from Wolverhampton on that particular day, and maybe once again get some tips, help and advice for your business to make it more successful. My guest this evening is Paul Gylnn of Sandler's Training, West M25. It is a franchise, but that doesn't make any difference. Sandler Training have been around for quite some time, and I suppose the West M25 identifies you.
That's right.
And that's you.
That's me.
Tell us a little bit about how this all came about and who they are and how this whole process, this whole technique was developed.
Okay. Well, Sandler, David H. Sandler, was an American who was actually figuring out that it was very, very hard to sell. He wasn't particularly successful at the selling stuff. And he said, well, wouldn't it be nice if the client, the prospective client, did most of the work, you know, rather than so I didn't have to work so hard, you know. And he looked into what was then quite a new human psychology theory called transaction analysis. So he worked with the transaction analysis people and figured out that there was actually a way of being able to make that into a sales process. And in fact, working with our natural suspicion, if you like, and putting that with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, we always go back to that, I know, and putting those things together, he actually worked out for himself a process that he could follow that seemed to work. It got developed as time went on, and it worked so well that it ended up being something that he was able to actually franchise out. And not only is it in the United States, it's actually now across the world. I think it's in like 48 countries of the world, something like that. And it's only recently ended up on UK shores, in actual fact. It's only been here something like 10 years. Otherwise, it's been decades old in other parts of the world.
Are there any large multinationals that are using these techniques?
Oh yes, lots.
Any examples?
Oh gosh, I put me on the spot. I should have mugged up on the CA, for example. I know that in the past IBM has also been clients of ours. Salesforce.com. These are all. So
I mean, it's top brands then, isn't it?
Oh yes.
It's blue chip organisations or whatever around the world that have been using this technique.
For example, yeah. So yes, top brands across the world. Absolutely, and yet also one-man bands, all the way down to one-man. That consultant I explained who won his £40,000 contract is a one-man band. So it works at all levels. What are
the biggest resistances that you get when you're? Do they already know that they want to use the process and the techniques, or when they come to you? I mean, when you stand up and you do some public speaking, do people go, what's he talking about? He doesn't know what he's talking about.
I don't think so. I think it's more a question of if we're talking about a relatively small organisation, it's the pain. Is there sufficient reason to actually change everything we do? Are we really going to put all our commercial team through all of this and really change? Because it is very, very uncomfortable. So there's got to be a big enough reason to actually want to do it, to be honest, because this is a slow process. If we've been learning bad habits, for example, how long does it take to get out of a bad habit? If you're doing driving, for example, you slipped into bad habits, how long does it take to get new, good driving habits and never fall back into the old ones? Oh,
Well, you were saying to me before we started about it's a bit like learning a new language.
Thank you, yes.
And that could be, you know, you're up to A level a couple of years, then off to university, whatever.
That's
so
right.
in the end, it could be maybe 6, 7 years to learn a language.
Indeed it could. But to learn the grammar, before we completely frighten everybody off, to learn the grammar of a language, if all you did was sit down and just do the grammar with worked examples so you can actually understand how it all fits together, that would probably take, I don't know, between 10, 12, 16 hours, something like that, and you could get it. You could at least get it to the point where you could start using it in some degree. And that's exactly how long it takes with us. It takes that kind of length of time to just sit down and explain, rather than the short time we've had together, to really, really understand why on earth should that work, and how can you make it work? How can you actually do it?
Is it important to know why it works, if it works? I mean, you said that there are 11 questions that you ask.
On the pain
Is there more to it than that, then?
There'll be lots of sub-questions after those 11.
So really what this is the top end of a funnel. I mean, I'd hate anyone to be thinking that, you know, ask those 11 questions and you're there.
Well, it could be. Okay, because one of the things that we're asked, you know, are salespeople born or made? Do you need to be good communicator? Do you need to be a salesperson in order to use this stuff? Well, let me give an example of a young man who was setting up on his own business and very, very quiet. I mean, the most uncommunicative person you've ever met in your entire life, the most unemotional person you've ever met. And sometimes when he was in my training, I would wonder whether I'd lost him because he wouldn't say anything all week, right? But he did just those 11 questions and would get business again and again and again. He didn't have to get emotional about the answers, but his clients were getting very emotional about the answers. And he absolutely loved it. It was a process he could follow. Ding, 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 ding. Done. Next.
I'm being very quiet because I'm finding it absolutely fascinating. What about, I suppose it's going to work everywhere. It's going to work on telephone sales and everything, isn't it?
On telephone? Well, yes, of course.
Because it's just a case of following a process and asking questions. Absolutely.
Well, we know always, don't we, that selling is supposed to be asking questions. We've always been taught you got two ears and one mouth. Use them in that order.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that proportion. But we're never told how to do that. We said, well, ask questions. Oh, great. What questions? But this process actually gives us a whole series of questions that we need to get ticked before we can move on. Now that might sound as if it's very mechanical, but it's not, because if you think about it, we're actually asking our prospect, our new client to relive or to live with us their real life, their issues, to get really impassioned about what's happening in their world. We're not trying to be arm's length and say, I've got something that might help you or you might be interested in. I'm not interested in interested. I'm interested to know what's really passionate about them and what's going on in their world. And by the time they are telling us about that, they're in there with us. This is no longer just, they forget that you're asking questions. That's no longer, they're not hearing the questions, they're just hearing themselves tell you what their world's about and what it is they'd like it to look like. And then we can help them do that.
It's a fascinating area. If you want to find out more about this, you can go to Paul's website. There's a whole host of information sitting there. There's even a white paper that you can download as well, which is going to help you with how to use LinkedIn. I've got the website here, and you'll just see that there's all sorts of different information. Discover the 10 ways you can use LinkedIn to prosper more effectively. And also on the website, he's got some introductory videos down here as well, for that matter. There are no bad prospects, only bad salespeople. I guess that's what that is, yep. And what's the other one here? Sell today, educate tomorrow. And why should you consider Sandler? Rule number 3. What's rule number 3?
Rule number 3, no mind reading.
You've got to go to the website just to find out what he's talking about, haven't you? It's a cracking idea. Listen, if you found it uncomfortable and you've been sitting there and you've been thinking to yourself, do you know that? It's just so different. When we were talking a few weeks ago to Antonio Falco, who is a traditional salesperson, I mean, what he was saying, that what you're looking for, of course, when you're doing networking and all the rest of it, you're looking for that appointment. And then when you've got the appointment, you're in there and you've got the opportunity to talk. He did say this, actually, because I said it's features and benefits. And he said, no, it's not. It's not that.
He did say that.
He did say that, didn't he? See, I do listen. And that took me back then. That was the first time I'd heard a professional salesperson saying It's not all about features and benefits. There's something more. Call it what you want to call it. I mean, call it the Sandler technique, or call it maybe an inert technique that some people have. It is just about communicating on a one-to-one basis with somebody and building up an empathy with them, and then working through a problem that they have that will benefit you.
Yeah, and I do not have an argument.
Which is good, because people would see him as a traditional salesperson. Listen, it has been absolutely fascinating talking to you. It was an interesting start, a fascinating middle, and a bamboozled end.
Okay.
But I like a bamboozled end occasionally. What we invite all our guests to do is to look straight down camera number one, to say who they are, what they do, and to give us a bit of a summary, some takeaways that our viewers can actually get from the programme this evening. So we'd like you very much to do that if you can. Once again, just to remind you, just before Paul does this, if you want to go to the website, it is www.westm25.sandler.com, and there it is. There's the actual web address sitting on the screen. As simple, as straightforward as that. Take a breath, who you are, where you're from, and tell us what it's all about.
That's very kind.
Straight down one.
All right. So my name is Paul Gylnn from Sandler, West M25. I empower business people through assessments, training, coaching and mentoring to get more business using the counterintuitive Sandler communication process. So the main points I want to leave you with is, you are told again and again to go out and tell people what you do. They don't care. Nobody cares. They are only worried about their own problems. So start and finish with those. All buyers lie all the time. They don't mean to, but they just do. Nobody likes being sold to, so stop selling and let your prospects close themselves. But to do all that with confidence, you're going to need a bulletproof system.
Wow. The power of the pause. Love it. Paul, it's been a real insight tonight. It's been fascinating, it's been interesting, and I hope you have benefited from what you're hearing. If you want to get more details, as I said, do go to the website, Paul's website, Sandler Training, West M25. Just go to the website to get more information. Sandler Training at West 25. It's as easy and as straightforward as that. And that apparently wraps up the show. Thank you very much indeed for being with us this evening. Just let me tell you who's going to be on the show next week. On next week's program is going to be Annie Knight of Wiley Publishing, who'll be covering the Books for Dummies series and how you can get published as well. Listen, feel that pain of your customers. We'll catch you again next week at 6. From me, Steve Harland. Bye for now. Bye-bye.